Hi everybody, welcome back. We're going to continue our talk about AI here. In the previous lecture video, we talked about the philosophical underpinnings of artificial intelligence, meaning to create artificial intelligence, you have to understand what is real intelligence. And so real intelligence, right, we talked about this in the previous lecture, but real intelligence is human intelligence. It's organic intelligence. And that word that I just used, organic intelligence, like in the grocery store, right? Like, hey, this is organic produce. We are organic beings. And the context in which I'm using that word, organic refers to that which is grown out of nature. It doesn't refer to pesticide free. Though hopefully you are pesticide free. Hopefully I am pesticide free. But we are organic beings. We're part of nature. We arose out of nature. And all of the other beings that you see around you, whether you have pets, dogs, or cats, or I don't know what you would have, reptiles. Some people have guinea pigs, or some people live on a farm and they have pigs, and you look up in the sky and you see birds, and there are fish in the rivers. Those are all organic beings, and organic beings have organic intelligence, right? So that's intelligence. And right now there's an interesting tension that is arising in the world, and it's a tension that is primarily between humans and machines. And so this tension is that we have organic beings and organic intelligence, and then we also have inorganic machines and inorganic intelligence. So just so you could see these two pieces here, we have organic beings and organic intelligence, and we have inorganic machines and inorganic intelligence. So it's an interesting juxtaposition, and an interesting tension has arisen between the organic and the inorganic. And we'll reflect on the inorganic here in just a moment. But the tension that has arisen is a tension that arises between that which is organic and that which is inorganic. And for organic moves in cycles. There's day, there's night, there's awake, there's sleep, there's asleep. There's full of energy, there's low energy. There's cycles in nature. And inorganic is constant, right? You turn a machine on, that machine can run. It could run 24/7, 365, 100%. And so this tension that has arisen is a tension between the organic and the inorganic, where increasingly the inorganic machines have crept into our cycles. So if you even just look at inorganic as technology, right, like light bulbs is technology, and the fact that we have light and light bulbs that we could just have on demand, that has influenced all of humanity. And our sleep cycles have shifted and changed and are sometimes challenged by the fact that we could turn on lights. The fact that we have these machines and we could communicate, and it's like we're always on. We go home and we're not really at home. Work is there with us and we're accessible 24/7. Of course, as with all tools, there's pluses and minuses to that. And it's made us vastly more efficient, all of these time-saving devices, but we continue to use our time to be more productive and to get more stuff done. So with more time-saving devices, we have less time than ever, right? We're busier than ever because technology has crept into our lives, and there's no longer as clear of a distinction between work and home. And work is we're accessible all the time. We also don't operate 24/7, 365 like machines, and we aren't as constant in terms of our output. And so that is both, again, a plus and a minus, because diversity in all forms creates innovation. And without diversity, without natural selection in biology, right, there is no evolution, there is no growth, there is no change. So you have to have differences, you have to have change, you have to have diversity for natural selection to be able to say this is working better than that. And it's that diversity that exists within us that really allows us to be unique and to accomplish things and to change. And so the fact that we're not constant 24/7, 365, and sometimes we're full of energy and we're creative, and sometimes we're low energy and we can't come up with a word, right? Like that all contributes to the beauty of humanity. But these machines are 24/7, 365, and they're starting to produce better output than us. And so that's pretty extraordinary. But I just wanted to speak to that tension, and then also I want to give you a reference to a video which talks about that tension. So I'm just going to go to YouTube here and find that video, and I'll go to my history. And in my history right here, right? So this guy here is a thought leader, and you know, he wrote some book. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like something about humanity. But if we go look at his books here real quick, we'll just check them out. We have Sapiens. That's the one I was thinking about. So Amoeba of AI Evolution really talks about this tension between the organic and the inorganic and machines. So you might check this video out. It's kind of cool to expand on this exploration of the tension between the organic and the inorganic. All right, so that's the first thing I want to share. I'm also going to tell Google here I'm not a robot. I'm also going to turn off my VPN, because when my VPN is on, it doesn't allow me to do things as quickly, and I'm at home and it's a safe environment, so that's good. All right, so next thing we're going to explore with AI are some of these topics here. So you can pause the video and take a look at that. And the first one we'll talk about is just definitions of AI and different terminology. So AI, artificial intelligence, right, is intelligence that is artificial. It's not natural, it's not organic, it's artificial. And the one thing I wanted to add to that when talking about organic versus inorganic is that inorganic, artificial, machines, some people say that's not natural. Actually, it's 100% natural, right? Like it's 100% nature derived. Like that didn't come from nature. No, that did come from nature, right? Like everything, humans are nature, and everything that humans have created is nature. Now, of course, that distinction is important for language, and for just kind of the conceptual models, the ontologies that humans have created, right? Like, there's a distinction between things that are in nature that grew out of the earth and machines. But literally machines also grew out of the earth, if you think about it, because humans grew out of the earth, and then we created machines. And so it's actually a natural phenomena for us to have these machines. But anyhow, we still use that segmentation to say, and that's just a philosophical reflection, but we still use that segmentation to say that, here is natural and here is not from nature. And so artificial intelligence is this broad overarching category which captures all intelligence, which isn't, directly born from nature, that isn't organic. It's intelligence that's inorganic. It's interesting, though, to think about this intelligence that's been created as actually part of nature, and nature, us, or architected, created this intelligence. So it's actually nature created, right? Like that's removing that distinction. But for all general purposes, when you're not speaking philosophical, when you're just talking with other people, intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine intelligence is definitely, the categorization, segmentation that people use in their ontological structures. How do you like all those terms? So here we have artificial intelligence, and it's this broad overarching category, and we could talk about narrow versus general artificial intelligence. So narrow artificial intelligence is artificial intelligence which focuses on some narrow area. So it's just focusing upon creating pictures, or it's just focusing upon speech and language, right? So that'd be narrow. And by the way, like speech and language, you'll sometimes hear not neuro-linguistic programming, but natural language processing. Those are both phrases that are represented by the acronym NLP, but you'll sometimes hear language artificial intelligence, which is narrow artificial intelligence, referred to as natural language processing, NLP, right? So that's narrow artificial intelligence. And again, when we create artificial intelligence, we want to emulate and create the intelligence that humans have. And so that would be like, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. right? Those are our five senses. Maybe also just sort of intuition, which comes from all of our experience and all of our senses. So maybe, you know, we could sense on a sixth sense level that goes beyond those five senses I just delineated. But also reasoning and thought and consciousness, right? Like getting down to the metaphysics, the fundamental first principles of what does it mean to be a sentient being? How do we receive input, the four processes of sort of computation, whether we're doing the computation or machines are, input, process, output, storage, right? IPOS, those four processes. How do we receive input? What are our senses, right? Like these are what is consciousness? These are the fundamentals of intelligence. And so how is that emulated in machines? We could have narrow artificial intelligence, which focuses on one of those functions, right? And you could also have like machine vision, like that's an area of artificial intelligence, which is narrow. But then you could start to combine those categories, and at the other end of the continuum, you could get a more general artificial intelligence. And as a matter of fact, there is a general artificial intelligence category called artificial general intelligence, AGI. And artificial general intelligence is represented by an intelligence that can pretty much, so there's two views on this. So one view is AGI, artificial general intelligence, is that it's intelligence that's like human intelligence, right? It can do what humans can do. And another view on artificial general intelligence is that AGI is superhuman intelligence, right? It can do what humans do, but better. Under the first view, there's a famous example that's forwarded by Steve Wozniak. And so that example is that if you could walk into a kitchen, if you could have some machine go into a kitchen it's never been in before and make a cup of coffee, then that machine has artificial general intelligence, right? That's Steve Wozniak's definition. Another definition that is used by Jeffrey Hinton, who's the godfather of AI, that definition is that AGI is superhuman intelligence. And as a matter of fact, Jeffrey Hinton refers to AGI as superhuman intelligence. And so just to eliminate confusion, that's what Jeffrey Hinton does. I think we're already starting to get some superhuman AI. ChatGPT, right, can write and know and create understanding in a superhuman way, which is greater than humans. But that's more of a narrow artificial intelligence. It hasn't quite got to general, but it's going to get there. We're in the early days of AI. And if you remember the early days of cell phones, we had these big clunky things, or maybe you've seen it in the movies. And today we have these sleek devices that are extremely powerful, and like the Library of Congress and more is here in the palm of my hand. Plus I can video conference with my wife and my kids. It's pretty amazing. So that's narrow versus general artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence. And an example of narrow artificial intelligence would be a large language model. Also, that could be referred to as natural language processing. It's focusing on language, and that'd be a narrow artificial intelligence. So here we talked about artificial general intelligence and the two views, human versus superhuman. And then there's one more term that you should know right now about artificial intelligence, and people get it confused. They hear Gen AI or AGI, and they're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. So artificial general intelligence is this idea, right, that we've created intelligence which is general, and it's either equivalent to humans or it's superhuman. And it's general, it's not narrow, right? It's general, it's not narrow. But Gen AI stands for generative artificial intelligence. And so this is another term which is used to talk about AI. And generative AI is artificial intelligence which generates new content. And so this is a revolutionary shift in machines and in artificial intelligence, because we have machines that create stuff. So when you go to the web, and we're going to talk about this here, I guess we could go ahead and do it right now. But when you go to the web and you search for something, right, like I'm going to search for, I don't know, bake apple pie, right? And so I would search for that at Google, and it's going to return information. It's going to return information, all right? And so I'll see if I have this slide here. I don't know if I do. So I'll just add it right. I'll add it I'll add it right here, I guess. I just need a text box. Give me a text box. Text box. All right, so we have data, and then data gets turned into information. And that's pretty much the definition of what computers do. They take data and they turn it into information. So if I say restaurants San Francisco, right, I get all these restaurants in San Francisco. And so each of these restaurants, like at this restaurant here, 5,806 people have left a rating of what they think of this restaurant. And the average rating is 4.5. So the data here is each rating. That's data. The information is the average, All right, so computers take data and they turn it into information. And there's all kinds of uses of this. Like this map, is information, right? It's a bunch of data. It's like coordinates and, images and, colors and what colors should things be to represent parks and freeways. It's a bunch of data, and here it's giving me all of this information so that I can make sense of this area, right? And so computers, the main takeaway here is computers take data and turn it into information. With AI, computers take data, turn it into information, and then with AI, they turn it into understanding, okay? And so here in this process, like, data and information is like where we've been. And I'm just going to copy this, boom, boom. And I'm going to bring this one down here. I'm going to delete this part from here because this was like phase 1 of computing, okay, for humans. Data into information. And then this is phase 2 of computing, data into information. And then with AI creating understanding. And I wanted to like make this a little bit different so that I could do like this maybe. See what that looks like. That's good. That's good. So that's with AI. Let me just bring that over a little. Oh, I want to move the whole thing. I want to move the whole thing. There we go. That's with AI, right? The into understanding. So data into information is like getting the average of, the 333 reviews gives me an average of 4.5 right there. That's taking data, turning it into information. Computers do that all the time. We send data and then the browser turns it into information when it arrives so we could then synthesize it. That's the next thing I wanted to say. So here, when I search for bacon apple pie, it's giving me a bunch of information. I have to now read through this information and I have to make sense of it. I have to synthesize it. I have to create understanding, okay? And so that's data, all these different recipes, turning it into information, videos, and it's stuff that I can access. I still have to read through all this and synthesize it prior to AI, right? And now with AI is going to read through all this for me. It's already read through it all. It's ingested all of the information in the world that exists that's available to it. It's ingested that, and it's made understanding of that. It's created understanding. So in the past, I had to create this understanding. Computers would take data in the past and turn it into information in the past. And then I had to synthesize all of that information. I had to read through all the recipes, figure out which one I wanted to make. I had to synthesize all of it, and I would create understanding. Now with AI has already ingested all of this. It's already read through all this. It's synthesized all of this, and it's made sense of all of it. It's created its own understanding. So now when I communicate with AI, I could come here and I could say, I want to bake the best apple pie ever. Please look through at least 10 popular apple pie recipes with high ratings. Synthesize all of that information, then create a recipe for me to follow to bake the best apple pie ever. Also, when creating also your recipe, this new recipe, please draw upon all of your other knowledge from everything you have ever read before. Please also be creative and innovative. For instance, some people like cheddar cheese with apple pie. So I was thinking a creative innovation would be to grate cheddar cheese and add it to the filling mix, then bake that all together so that there was a cheddar cheese apple pie with gooey cheddar cheese. I don't know if that's the best solution, but if you think that is good to try, let's go for that. Otherwise, feel free to come up with some new creative and innovative take on apple pie. I want an apple pie that is the best apple pie ever, and also one that has not widely been created before. I want to surprise people with the newness and wonderfulness of this apple pie. So first of all, just look at the difference, okay? Look at the difference. All right, so this is how I communicate with search engines, bake apple pie, right? Or restaurants, San Francisco. So in the old way of doing things, right? In the old way of doing things, we have to conform to the computers. We have to conform to the computers. In the new way of doing things, the age of understanding, artificial intelligence, computers conform to us, right? Here in the old way being the last 25 years, we have to conform to computers. We have to make our searches very brief, very concise, very short, succinct, right? And then it returns all of this information from data, right? It's taken data, turned it into information, returns all this information. We have to then synthesize it. We have to go through it. We have to understand it. We have to make our own understanding. In the new way of doing things, instead of having short, succinct, concise, brief prompts and conforming, us having to conform to the computers, in the new way of doing things, right? We could just talk to the machines as we talk to other humans. And the machines, the computers, conform to us, right? So I could put in this unwieldy prompt. If I took this and put this just into the old school way of doing things, I'm going to put it in here as a Google search. Like Google's just going to be like, here are apple pie recipes and apple pie videos, right? Like it's going to go through all that and just be like, you want apple pie recipes. Like, okay, that's pretty stupid, actually. It's not intelligent compared to what we now have here with ChatGPT. And I could also say, please let me know if you have any questions about this for which you might need clarification. I'm happy to dialogue about it. Right? Like that's a pretty amazing question and prompt. And if you're running a restaurant that's like a highbrow, cutting edge, beautiful restaurant, you know, and you really want to do things different, like you could start to innovate in this way, put these prompts in there and start to get this stuff out. But here, right, what's being returned isn't a bunch of recipes for me to go through and figure out what's best. It's one recipe, right? It's one recipe. So ChatGPT has synthesized all the world's information, and it's now returning understanding. Okay, so data, information, understanding. Data, information, understanding. And this was the old way. Computers took data, turned it into information, and we had to create our own understanding. The new way, computers take data, turn it into information, create understanding, and then they generate new content. So this is the next thing, right? They turn it into understanding, and then they generate new content. So they generate new content. And this is Gen AI, right? When they can generate new content, that's Gen AI. And I'm just going to grab both these and move them over. And then move them up, and then move this one over here like this. That way it's all on the same line. So computers take data, turn it into information, create understanding, and then they generate new content. So that's generative AI. And that's what happened here. I got to read this. Creating an exceptional apple pie that marries traditional flavors with innovative twists can truly elevate your baking, drawing inspiration from classical recipes and incorporating creative elements. Here's a unique apple pie recipe that combines the sweetness of apples with the savory depth of cheddar cheese and the subtle umami of red miso. That sounds pretty amazing, right? Has anybody ever created this apple pie before? Has anyone ever created this apple pie before? So now we're kind of seeing, like, is this just like a recipe that's out there? The combination of apple pie with cheddar cheese is a well-established tradition, particularly in the Midwest, New England. Incorporating cheddar into the crust or filling adds a savory depth that complements the sweetness of apples. Introducing red miso paste into apple pie is a more recent innovation. Chef Sonoko Sakai, in her cookbook Wafu Cooking, presents a red miso apple pie where red miso is added to the apple filling to enhance its umami flavor. Similarly, other culinary enthusiasts have explored adding miso to apple pie fillings to balance the intensity of apple's sweet and spice flavors. While both cheddar cheese and red miso have individually incorporated into apple pies, combining both elements in a single recipe is less common. The fusion offers a unique blend of sweet, savory, and umami flavors, providing a novel twist on classic apple pie. So that's pretty amazing. I quite like that. I'm interested in trying it. But what we're learning here isn't how to bake apple pies. It's how computers work. Data to information to understanding to generating new content. And so that is, ladies and gentlemen, that's generative AI, and it's creating new content. And that's another extraordinary milestone in the history of humanity, is that we have machines which actually generate content that's never existed before. Like if I go here and say, can please create a landscape image of people enjoying this apple pie. Please create enjoying this apple pie at a table set up on a cliff overlooking the ocean in Big Sur, California. Make this reminiscent. Make this scene make the scene like something you would see at Esalen, perhaps even using the Esalen Big Sur backdrop and landscape in the image. Please also make the image photorealistic. The people in the image should be like nouveau bohemians who are perhaps Silicon Valley millionaires who are also down to earth, right? Like that's just a crazy prompt, but it's also kind of interesting. And Eslen's a place in Big Sur, and also convey from the humans a feeling of joy, family, happiness, enthusiasm, and a positive outlook for the future should be conveyed. The image, again, make the image photorealistic, as if this event actually occurred. So like AI is going to create something that's never existed before, right? It created it, and then I own it. If you look at the privacy policies and the terms of use and everything like that, when you use generative AI, the general standard now is if you create something there, you as the creator, collaborating, co-creating with the machine, own this material. So that's the people look a little creepy, right? Some of their faces are a little bit like, yeah. So AI isn't quite doing faces all that well yet, but at least this one's not. But all this, like this is spot on back here and here, and these people are super creep. It looks like Jesus here. So that's not quite what I was going for, but that's all right. Midjourney, which is another AI which creates images, they do a much better job. You could go to Midjourney and you could do Explore, and they do a much better job with images. Like if you look at this face, that's looking pretty good of a little elf, or this face here, that looks like, yeah, I think that might exist. She might exist in the real world. Like, it's AI. It's slightly off in a sort of cartoonish big eye way, but it's close enough that I'm like, is that real? I'm just looking for more photorealistic people. Apparently, they only have pictures of women. I was looking for a man to balance it out, but we'll just stop with that. Here, of course, is that famous photo of a giant alien with people in Asia. That was all created by AI. Historical photograph, vintage from 1800, of group of village people standing with two aliens. Who are the two aliens? There's just one alien. So that's kind of a wild photo. All right, so generative AI, that's what we're learning, is it generates new content. And this is an extraordinary process which has been created by humans with machines. That we've created machines that do data to information, and that was like the age of information. And now they also, with artificial intelligence, those machines create understanding from all of the information, and then they generate new content, Gen AI. All right, so we're moving out of the age of information and we're transitioning into a new age. It's the age of understanding. So in the age of information, it was characterized by information and that in search engines. And in the age of understanding, it's characterized by understanding, and we use artificial intelligence. Age of information is really mechanistic, right? Like it was all about algorithms, and this happens and that happens, and you get things returned to you. It's very mechanistic. And you have to, create your prompt, bake apple pie. You have to create it in a certain way. And the age of understanding is very humanistic. It's like, hey, what's going on? This is what I want to do. I want to come up with this thing, and I want this, and I want that. And, it's like very humanistic. It's like talking to a human. It's very conversational, the age of understanding, whereas age of information is a single interaction. So here, if I didn't get what I wanted with bake apple pie, I start all over. It's like this never existed, this interaction right here. That's the age of information. But with the age of understanding, if I didn't get what I wanted, I could be like, ask another question. Has anyone created this before? I get more information, right? And then I ask another question. It's all part of a conversation, right? So this is the age of understanding, conversational, and the age of information is a single interaction. This is multiple interactions. And I'm just going to add here that thanks. You're amazing. You're amazing. Amazing. What you have created here is incredible. The humans' faces, the faces of the humans in the image, faces of the humans in the image, by the way, aren't that great. So work on that. But everything else that you put together, is extraordinary. I am so impressed. So just giving a little feedback that needs to work on its faces. And it's very conversational. It's very relational, right? So in the age of information, we had to synthesize. We'd get the data turned into information. We had to synthesize the information. In the age of understanding, the AI synthesizes the information, turns it into understanding, and then generates new content. In the age of information, we conform to the computers, bake apple pie, right? In the age of understanding, computers conform to us, and they conform to us, and it's like, it's like we just have conversations, and they understand how we talk, so computers conform to us. In the age of information, content is created by humans, right? Like all this content here, was created by humans, right? Like generally all the content that's on the web is still human created. More and more we're starting to get content created by AI on the web. But previously in the age of information, right, it was all created by humans. Everything that was returned here was created by humans. Hold on one second. Hey, hang on one sec, all right? Yeah, what's up? All right, I got a call here in 2 minutes, and also just had that call. But here, just to finish this up, what we're talking about, we conform to computers, computers conform to us, content's created by humans, content's created by machines. The age of information was characterized by a great value being put upon humans who know stuff and memorized facts. Now you don't really need to know things, you need to know how to find things and then use them, right? So applying the understanding information data that you could access and the content that could be created, applying that. And then I don't know how to bake an apple pie, but real quickly, I'm a genius chef creating the world's most innovative apple pie. Or I don't remember Raging Bull by Robert De Niro, And who directed it? Who directed that? I don't know. I just have to look it up, and there it is, right? Like now I've got the information. Or what was that story of Pablo Picasso and a napkin at some cafe, right? Like I don't have to remember that, memorize it. I just have to remember that it exists and be like, tell me that story. And then the story is that Pablo Picasso was sketching at a cafe on a napkin, and then he finished his coffee and got up and he was going to throw the napkin away, and somebody said, wait, don't throw that away. May I please have it? And Pablo Picasso said, $10,000. You could have this. And the person said, $10,000. It just took you a couple of minutes to draw. Right? They recognized it's Pablo Picasso at this cafe, and they asked if they could have it. And the person said, it only took you a couple of minutes. Why would you charge me $10,000? He said, no, it didn't take me a couple of minutes to draw this. It took me my whole life. Right? Because it took him his whole life to get to that point where in a few minutes he could draw this beautiful thing on a napkin. And so that's like the Pablo Picasso story. So, I don't have to know that. I just have to remember it and then be able to go apply and access and use those facts, that data, that information, that understanding. Age of information was disassociative. Each of these were separate in interactions. It wasn't a relational thing. And age of understanding is very relational. You can see I'm even anthropomorphizing the machine here and feeling like I got to give it 2 positives and 1 negative, the way we give humans feedback, and, having a relational kind of, and that's just going to get wacky, right? Because it's so relational. So again, going to YouTube, there's a video that we'll be watching in the in-person class. Go to my playlist and computer class.
What if the biggest A?
And the video that we're going to watch is going to be, here, I'll find it. AI model making huge money on Instagram, and AI companions always say yes, but there's a catch. Post-human with Emily Chang. So we're going to be watching this today in class, and that's an amazing concept, right? Like people are starting to have relationships with AI. So this is an extraordinary era. It's an extraordinary time to be alive. And this has been an extraordinary lecture. I've loved it. We've learned some terms about AI. We learned about these differences between the age of information and the age of understanding. We still have a little bit to talk about making AI and these different things. We'll talk about that next week, and we'll learn about Alan Turing, the Turing test, and how the AI can be confidently wrong. We'll talk a little bit about AI privacy. All that's next week. Hope you're loving this and enjoying it. I'll see you next time. I'm Todd McLeod.